What's up and welcome to My Point of View. I am your fat and opinionated host, and I don't know how many of you all have been paying attention to the numbers. I don't know how many of you all have been watching the market, but things are not looking good for Bud Light. I thought that maybe this would have been over by now. I thought that maybe things would have blown over by now, but they haven't. In fact, this story just keeps gaining new wind. We now have talks of big wigs at Bud Light. I'm talking about executives. They're all pointing the fingers at one another. No one really wants to take the blame. Some are pretending like they had no idea that this was going on. They had no idea about this little Dylan Mulvaney publicity stunt. But you know what? I have a hard time believing that. I honestly have a hard time believing that. But they're trying to claim, well, we didn't know. Well, it's a little too late for that. I think we can all agree. You all have already lost billions of dollars, and now you want to pretend like you had no idea that you all were promoting someone who puts on a dress, wears little kids' makeup, and tries to prey on little kids, and tries to convince little kids to be confused about who they actually are. That's what Bud Light stands behind. And you know what? It's kind of mind-boggling to me when I see things like this turn political, because this should not be political. This shouldn't be a political thing. This has been deemed a right-wing talking point. If you have a problem with a big beer company promoting someone like Dylan Mulvaney, but shouldn't this be something we could all stand behind? Shouldn't we all agree, regardless of who we vote for, that grown men putting on little girls' dresses and preying on kids is not a good thing? You know, it's really weird for me because 10 years ago, I'm someone who would be considered on the left. But now a lot of people would consider me on the right simply because I have a problem with freaks like Dylan Mulvaney trying to groom little kids. Like, I never use my platforms to tell you how to vote. I never sit on here and tell people how to vote. I don't use my platform to promote any political party. I don't endorse, people who are running for certain positions. I never do any of that. And I never will. All I do is simply stand up for little kids for the most part. That's really my red line. Don't mess with kids. Don't try to indoctrinate kids. Don't bring kids into all of this weird stuff that's going on in today's world. But for some people, that's a problem. And they make it political. So it is what it is. But I would encourage everyone to don't allow politics to rot your mind to the point that you feel like you have to accept stuff that you're not comfortable with accepting. Because I know for a fact that the majority of people on the left and right 10 years ago would not be okay with any of the stuff that's going on now. So why some people pretend to be okay with what's happening to little kids in today's world, I don't understand. It's obvious that I think people have allowed politics to play such a role in their minds that they allow it to cloud their judgment. So that's where I stand when it comes to a lot of this stuff. I'm not a super political person, but if you want to make it political, if you say it's political for me to defend kids and the innocence of children, then hey, so be it. But anyway, Bud Light's finding out the hard way that people aren't okay with this stuff. The majority of people aren't okay with the mutilation of kids. They're not okay with the indoctrination of kids. They're not okay with you trying to promote Bud Light to middle schoolers and high schoolers who are confused about their gender, because make no mistake about it, they've already stated that by hiring Dylan Mulvaney, they wanted to promote their beer to Dylan Mulvaney's audience, which would be a new audience for them. The only problem is Dylan Mulvaney's core audience is people from the age of 12 to 17 who are in middle school and in high school who are confused about who they are. That's his core demographic, the core demographic of people who watch his videos. besides, I guess you could say, people who hate his videos and share them to show what type of a weirdo he is. But anyway, this whole debacle has left Anheuser-Busch like almost paralyzed to a point that they don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do. I want to dive into this article real quick, then I'll be back with more thoughts. Bud Light's Dylan Mulvaney debacle has left Anheuser-Busch paralyzed. Company never expected backlash and is now trapped as it refuses to disavow partnership or stand up to critics, PR expert says. Bud Light parent company Anheuser-Busch appears to be trapped between a rock and a hard place as it grapples with the polarization over its paid partnership with influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Since the controversy emerged on April 1st, Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch's main social media accounts have fallen silent despite major sporting events of the kind the brand typically chimes in on. Aside from an initial terse statement, Anheuser-Busch has also ignored media requests on the issue. Last week, a Missouri distributor canceled an event featuring the famed Budweiser Clydesdale, citing safety concerns. They never expected the reaction that they got, said Gareth Boyd, a marketing and PR expert. Right now, if they respond and they don't get it right, they're only going to further hurt themselves. I think they're probably trying to avoid talking about it, hoping and praying that it will go away. But it's probably the worst thing you could possibly do, he added. As the company remained on the sidelines, the controversy took on a bizarre life of its own, with Kid Rock posting a video of himself shooting up cases of Bud Light. Behind the scenes at Anheuser-Busch, there have been hints of internal turmoil and finger-pointing over fallout from the controversy. Executives have paused new marketing campaigns so they can implement a more robust vetting process for future projects, while media attention has focused on Bud Light VP Alyssa Heinerscheid for her potential role overseeing the campaign. Anheuser-Busch is led by U.S. CEO Brendan Whitworth, a former Marine Lieutenant CIA officer and Harvard Business School graduate who joined Anheuser-Busch in 2014 after serving as a senior executive at Frito-Lay. Anheuser-Busch's only comment on the matter has been a single statement confirming the Bud Light cans showing Mulvaney's face were a personal gift to the influencer and not for sale to the public. They have a really big problem, and the longer they go on, not actually releasing something concrete, it's only going to get worse, observed Boyd. Boyd questioned whether proper contingency planning was carried out at Anheuser-Busch before launching the partnership with Mulvaney, saying it appeared the company did not have a response plan in place. You could have thought they would have something saying, okay, in a worst case scenario of backlash, what do we fall back to, he said. Now, me personally, it doesn't surprise me that they don't have a backup plan. I mean, what's the backup plan going to be? Oh, sorry, everyone, that we printed pictures of a child groomer on the side of a beer can. We apologize. Won't happen again. I mean, what can they do to really walk this back? In my opinion, a line has been drawn in the sand. And this line has been drawn by plenty of companies in recent history. It's clear that the agenda that they want to push against your kids is more important to them than your money. So what's more important to you? Bud Light or your kids? What's more important to you, making a statement or drinking Bud Light? That's the question that is on everyone's minds right now. Make no mistake about it, I don't think this was a mistake. Honestly, I feel like a lot of these companies are testing the waters. I mentioned this before in a prior video. I'm going to mention it here briefly real quick. What we're seeing with Bud Light, what we're seeing happening with Bud Light, I've already seen it happen over a dozen times. They came in, they destroyed the comic book industry. They tried to destroy gaming. They're still currently trying to do so. They destroyed Marvel. They destroyed DC. They've destroyed Pixar. They've destroyed all of the kids' shows that you used to watch. The kids' shows that your kids are watching right now. When you get to the point that you got trans beavers with scars from top surgery on Blue's Clues, you know you have reached the point of no return. These people are going to push this agenda. And it's up to you to figure out if you want to push back or not. I've been pushing back against this stuff for years when it comes to stuff that I'm passionate about, like movies, comics, and pop culture. I don't really care about beer. And I'll be honest, part of me is like, you know what? Hey, we told you. We told you all. We tried to inform you all, and people wrote us off for years. Who cares about gaming? Who cares about Marvel? Who cares about DC? Who cares about Disney? Who cares about this? Who cares about that? And people sat back and said they didn't care as all of this stuff got destroyed and taken over by these freaking weirdos. And now they're coming for beer. So make no mistake about it. This is a flex. They're flexing their muscles right now. Letting you know, hey, we got Marvel, we got DC, we got pop culture. Now we're going to come for beer. We're coming for sports. We're coming for everything. So at some point, people either have to take a stand or they're going to have to sit down and realize that we're going to live in a future where people like Dylan Mulvaney have open access to your kids. You let me know what's more important for you down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, ring that notification bell, and remember to always remain opinionated.